Hey, if you've arrived at this, you have successfully drawn a window on a pop-up window, if you like, or a little window, dialogue window, whatever you want to call it, a graphical window onto your screen without any errors here in the shell or any errors with the import. Once you've done that, you are now ready to move forward. What's the next step? Well, it's very important, and I know that some of you have already said to me, please, not too much with pen and paper. The only reason I'm just interspersing a bit of pen and paper here is just so the concept is simpler to communicate and I can put something visual in front of you while I explain it before we get on and code it. Okay, so we popped up a window on screen and we need you to focus. So let's focus. Here we go. That's a bit better. Okay, so that's our nice little window we've popped up. And what I said was it was 200 by 200. The most important concept you need to grasp at the beginning is the coordinate system for Python and this graphics library. Okay, what do I mean by coordinate system? Well, what I mean is that well, I'll try to explain it from an example. This top left hand corner, I'm going to write 0, 0. That is what we traditionally call the origin, and when you go horizontally, that will give you your x value, and when you go down, that will give you your y value. Now, for those of you who remember their mathematics, it's very, very important that you understand that what we've actually done is rotated what you will understand through normal mathematics. If you draw a point exactly there, the location will be 0, 0. The x value will be 0 and the y value will be 0. But if I draw a point, I don't know, here, which the distance to here is, say, 10, right, the x distance, and the y is, say, 12, okay, the location of that point will be always x first, 10, 12. Okay, so as you move from left to right, the x value is positive and goes up. As you move down, the y value goes up. So let's have another example. Imagine another point over here. How far across is it from this left-hand edge? Let's say it's 7. Let's have a look. No, maybe 120. I'm just guessing, right? In the x, how far down from the top edge is it coming down this way here? How far down is the y value? Let's just say, for sake of argument, that it's 120 as well. So the location of that point is 120 on the x and 120 on the y. Now, I have recorded a video. There is a playlist on the YouTube channel which talks about the Python coordinate system. But I can simply say to you that this is probably the place where you are most likely to stumble in the very first step. You've got to be patient, and I'm going to give you a strategy when we code this, okay, to help us do it. So what we're going to do is draw a point at 10, 12, and we'll draw another point at 120 and 120. How do we do that? Let's have a go. Okay, so I'm going to shift that off screen and go back to Python. What's really nice about the graphics library is it has a way of constructing points. If you construct a point, use capital P-O-I-N-T, you give it an x value, which is going to, in the first one is going to be 10, and you give it a y value, the vertical, and it's going to be 12. Now, just by writing point on screen, I have constructed a point. That line, that piece of code constructs a point. Now what I need to do is I need to now store that constructed point in a variable. Okay, now this may be quite a jump for some of you, so let's just kind of make this clear. I need a variable here. I'm going to call it P. I construct a point, okay, which is 10, 12, and I store it inside P. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do next. How do I do that? I assign it to P like that. Okay, so that is the process of, let's go back and just make sure the concept is absolutely clear. There's your point, right? I've constructed it. This piece of code, the capital POINT, constructs it with that data, right? You pass it that, then it assigns it to P. Okay, so that looks like that. Now I've got a point. Let's draw that point on the screen and give it a red outline, for example. Let's make it red. Okay, so if I want to draw something onto my little graphics window that I've created, I take my variable P, which is the point, which is the stored point, and I say draw. And the question you need to answer is, what do you tell it? You have to tell it where to draw the point. Now, up here, this variable, and just to make the concepts absolutely clear, I don't think I said this in the previous video, just let's have another blank. When I created my little graphical window, right, using that code GraphWin, okay, you can see that. If I just shift that over, you can see it just here where my cursor is. When I created it, what I actually did is I stored it in that variable called win, sorry. Okay, so that first line of code here essentially created it, that was this GraphWin, and then it assigned it, stored it in the win variable. Okay, so if I want to do anything to that graphical window, I have to use the variable. Now these are quite subtle concepts and may, for some of you, get a little bit tricky. So, and the other element here is you just got to get used to looking at it. So I'm going to draw my point and I'm going to draw it on my window. So I draw it on win, because the variable win stores that graphical window. So in theory, that's what I need to do. Now I'm going to, for sake of argument and to help you see the point, I'm going to set the outline of the point by doing this. Right? You notice it's using camel case, lowercase set, capital O outline, and I'm going to give it the color red. Okay, let's see what happens. And what's really crucial about this kind of coding, and this is where you need to be extremely patient and be prepared to play and test stuff out, is allow errors to occur and understand the errors. The more errors you spot at this stage and can understand what they mean and how to solve them, the better your coding will get. Right, let's right click that, run the file as a script. We might have some errors. Let's have a look over here. No errors, that's just a fluke. And so now let's run our main and see what it does. Okay, so there's my main method, run it, and it's not happy, right? It's not happy, and I'll tell you why in a second. But if I drag this over here, I don't know if you can see this graphic window in this video, but do you see a little black point? It's 10 pixels across and 12 pixels down. The bit that this code didn't like, if you look at the error, is this line here, the set outline red. Well, it doesn't know what red is. It's got no speech marks. And actually, I've accidentally treating it like a variable. I need to put speech marks. I need to say red as a piece of information, right? So let's right click that, change that, run the file as a script, happy again. Let's get main in and see what happens this time. And it always draws it behind. There we go. There it is. And let's have a look. Can you see a little red dot has appeared there? Okay, that is the very, very simplest way. If you want to test this further, why don't we make it 100 across and 120 down, right? Run file as script, execute this main, and hidden behind is, there we go, it's a graphics window. Can you see that little red dot there? Okay, that gives you an idea of the red dot. Now there are really other things, interesting things we can do with it. We can move the dot. We won't do that yet. I would suggest you attempt a very simple exercise. Now that's 110. It's just a static point. But why don't we put these 3 lines inside a simple loop and make these numbers go up by 10 or go up from 1 every single time and draw what we see. So before I do that, for everyone who is unfamiliar and it's not working, make sure you get this far done. Now the rest of this video is just really an extension. Okay, an extension of what we've done. So I'm going to show you how to stick a loop, shift it all across by 1, Let's create a loop. Let's call it X, because we're going to treat it as, no, we'll treat it as I. In range, it's going to start at 0, it's going to go up to 100, and it's going to go up in steps of 10. Okay, but need the colon at the end. You need to, that is indented actually. I need to bring that indentation back, and it's jumping around and not very, very happy. Come back here. I need to get these 3 lines to indent properly. Right, that may not be happy with that. It seems to be all over the place at the moment. Let's just tidy up my indentation. Right, do you see there's a little white line that's appeared here, a very faint line to line up everything. So I now have a loop which will go around here 10 times in steps of 10. So let's make the X value I, and let's make the Y value I as well. Well, let's make it I plus 10, so it starts slightly in a different location. Right, before I draw that on screen, any idea what we're going to see? Let's have a go. Let's run the file script, make sure there are no errors in the code. There is an error. It's not happy with the name S. Where have I got S? Where has that appeared? Line 16, it says I've got an S. Yes, there we have. Right at an S. I've accidentally left one in. Right. Right click that, run file as script, see if there's any other kind of errors in my code. No, it's fine. Let's run main. And let's see what that did. Can you see those dots? What it's done is the first dot started at 10 because I was 0. Then it shifted it across. Every time it went through the loop, it moved it down, shifted it down and across. And it drew essentially a dotted line, okay, made up of individual points. So I'm going to stop there and let you play with that code. And I would recommend you play with it. Try variations. Try making a loop which lets the points go in interesting shapes. If you create some interesting formulas in here and use some really you can get interesting curved shapes to come and work as well. Okay, thank you very much.